My lords, today we are going to explore and rank all 6 Federation variants present within our galaxy. A Federation is an alliance of spacefaring civilizations. Federation members will automatically get perks, such as defensive packs, and they will gain diplomatic benefits as well, such as increased trust growth and no border friction penalties. Federations tend to lean towards overarching goals, be that a research cooperative focused on a combined goal of breaking down technological barriers, or a holy covenant focused on galactic spiritualistic growth. Today we'll rank from what I deem to be the least valuable to the most valuable, and we'll start with the Galactic Union. Members of this federation are united in a readiness to cooperate. Together they will deal with whatever problems should arise. The Galactic Union is the most common and most basic form of a federation in our galaxy. It's the default diplomatic structure that will form when 2 or more empires decide to formalize their friendship under a shared diplomatic banner. This also appears to be a representation of the same union we believe the First League undertook around 2 million years ago, and I also believe it's the weakest of all of the federations out there. Within a Galactic Union, there is no strict ideological or government prerequisite. Only the empires acting as a barbaric despoiler can never join, and generally genocidals are treated differently, for obvious reasons. It's worth noting that determined exterminators can form a union with another machine empire, but not an organic empire or a rogue servitor. Due to the innate openness of a union's design, they tend to attract a wide mix of members, with different ethics and different priorities. This inclusivity is both a strength, but also a flaw. The union's purpose is to encourage mutual cooperation, unity and peace across all its member states, but in practice this can often become a loose coalition of convenience, something created to symbolize cooperation, more than to enforce it. When first established, the Union can provide modest bonuses. It slightly reduces the rate at which differing ethics damage cohesion, and it improves intelligence sharing among its members. These are relatively minor benefits meant to reflect the improved communication and trust that comes with the formal alliance, but it's probably not going to change the state of play in a significant way. It's worth noting that by default the presidential status will rotate between member states, though there are several more specific ways of succession that can be voted in, and I'll discuss these at the end of the report. In terms of bonuses, the Union, as stated, is all about cohesion and keeping the Federation together. Therefore there's much less of a cohesion penalty when new members join. The key takeaway that members will receive from this Federation is 50% increased damage to endgame crisis level factions. These would be Satana, the Contingency, the Unbidden, and the Pythorian Scourge. And while increased damage is fantastic, it is, in my eyes, clearly weaker than some of the available bonuses from the other Federation types. Because Galactic Union doesn't really specialise in anything, warfare, trade or research, it lacks the focused power that makes the other Federation types more valuable. A martial alliance builds better fleets, a research cooperative accelerates technology, and a trade league will become an economic powerhouse. The Union, by contrast, simply doesn't do this, and that's why it's the weakest on the list. Moving on to one that may surprise you, the Hegemony. The Hegemony represents the most authoritarian form of federation in our galaxy. It's the polar opposite of the Galactic Union, where one is cooperation between equals. The Hegemony is all about hierarchy and control. To form one, an empire needs to have authoritarian tendencies or must have pursued the domination traditions. Rogue servitors, interestingly, can also qualify, I guess since their programming allows for a more authoritarian approach to pampering. Remember, it's forced after all. Unlike the egalitarian structures of other federations, a Hegemony exists to centralize power. Its laws and mechanics are designed to make the president and the leading empire progressively stronger, while the member states become more dependent and compliant. Not all member states have to be vassals, but that is the loose structure of the Federation. Its key defining feature is that members are unable to leave without a war. Thus, it is an excellent model if you wish to include it with lots of vassals. Now this key defining trait, once you're inside, you have to stay unless the president allows you to secede or you can declare war on them, This gives the ruling empire near total diplomatic control over its federation. In reality, I would question whether this is really any different to one empire holding lots of different vassals. It is, of course, but not by a huge amount. Vassals are already locked to vassals unless they try to leave via a war, so that's not really any different for me. The vassals, or rather the member states, will also receive, when in the Federation, small resource increases from being member states. These are of course nice for the leader as well, as you're likely going to be taxing these members as vassals. Essentially, this trades member state freedom for a loose but formalised protection. After all, if one member is declared upon, everyone will come to its aid. It is rather niche, but I do think it offers more benefits than the Galactic Union, but nowhere near the benefits that some of the others offer. So, the next to discuss is the military-focused federation, the Martial Alliance. Members of a Martial Alliance seek to close the ranks around the ideals of honour, martial prowess, and military cooperation. Unlike the Hegemony we just discussed, there is no leader and members. All are equal within this federation, and all share the wish for a strong military. To form a martial alliance, one must have either the militarist ethic or have finished the unyielding tradition tree. The martial alliance, somewhat obviously, promotes military efficiency. Members will enjoy faster shipbuilding, more experienced crews, better admirals, and bonuses to ship fire rate. The Federation's navy will also see large benefits, being approximately 50% larger than that of other federations. The final bonus is, like the Galactic Union, a 50% increase in damage to endgame crisis factions, which is not something to sniff at. This damage bonus is the key takeaway, the other being the 10% increase to fire rate. Those bonuses are both fantastic in reality. I would state that that only translates to 12 repeatable researches, which, although a lot, is certainly achievable with today's economies. The Federation fleet being extra large is also lovely, but individual fleet sizes I find rarely matter, since often an empire's entire navy will occupy one system anyway, so aside from admiral bonuses, whether they're in one fleet or several, does it really make that much difference? I would suggest most of what is being offered by the Martial Alliance can be achieved via other routes. A well-managed and strong economic empire will outperform this the longer they survive, and eventually surpass them. That said, the bonuses are certainly valuable in the short term, and at least you still get all the benefits from being in a federation, defensive packs, and the rest. The bonuses that Martial Alliance offers, I certainly feel are more valuable than those of the Union, and I think it's more accessible and practical than the Hegemony, but I don't think it's as valuable as those to come. So we have 3 left, and we're getting into the good stuff now. The next is the Holy Covenant. This federation promotes spiritualistic scholarship and asserts reverence for all things divine. The Holy Covenant is the spiritual counterpart to the other federation types. It's a federation not founded on trade or technology or warfare, but on shared faith and ideology. The Covenant embodies a union of empires that believe that moral alignment and divine purpose is stronger than bonds in economics or diplomacy. To form a Holy Covenant, an empire must embrace spiritualistic ethics or have completed the Harmony tradition tree. Its founding principle is that the spiritual well-being of the galaxy outweighs individual ambition. Unlike the Union, which promotes open cooperation between all empires, the Holy Covenant is much more exclusive. Its members will likely all share similar spiritual convictions, or at least respect the idea that faith has a place in governance. Unsurprisingly, members of a Holy Covenant will see increases to Unity production, but they also get some quite unique and somewhat thematic bonuses, such as increase in planetary ascension effect and reduction in cost. They also have other fairly unique bonuses, such as increases in voting strength for Divinity of Life resolutions. The Covenant will also see population growth speed bonuses and increases in priest job output, and finally, and I must say it's great, the reduction in Shroud Delve cooldown, meaning you can enter the Shroud and deal with the patrons more often. Holy Covenants become stronger the longer they last, as the bonuses from Planetary Ascension will begin to stack up alongside its population growth speed bonus. I would suggest that the Holy Covenant is a more subtle power curve, unlike perhaps the Martial Alliance with its mighty Federation battle fleet or the economic powerhouse of the Trade League. If you're being fanciful, you could absolutely argue that a Holy Covenant is more than a simple Galactic Union. The spiritualistic values of the members bind these empires together in ways we may not be able to fully comprehend. But moving on to second place, although only just, we have the Trade League. This federation has distinct focus on free markets and economic growth. The Trade League is the representation of an economic powerhouse in our galaxy. Where the Galactic Union values diplomacy and the Martial Alliance values strength, the Trade League values commerce, profit, stability, and the inherent bonds of mutual interest. To form a trade league, an empire must first embrace mercantile principles. This can be achieved by completing the mercantile tradition tree, adopting corporate dominion or merchant guilds, or by simply being a mega corporation. The Trade League's defining feature is its Trade League policy, which changes how trade value is converted into resource. Instead of having to choose between energy, consumer goods, or unity, members will receive all three simultaneously: energy for economic power, consumer goods for social comfort and driving your research, and unity for cultural cohesion. This policy alone makes the Trade League one of the strongest economic powerhouses in the entire galaxy, and dramatically rewards empires that can build and protect their trade networks. Federation members will, unsurprisingly, receive bonuses to trade value in the region of 30% or 40% for the President. Other bonuses include damage to endgame crisis factions and sublight speed increases in allied space. Of course, every member will benefit from the compounding economic growth, and even modest trade empires will soon become major powers when networked together under the Federation's banner. Over time, a mature trade league can generate immense wealth without having to rely on conquest. It rewards internal development, infrastructure, and stability, turning trade hubs and starbases into engines of empire-wide prosperity. In our galaxy, the empires that thrive are normally those with the powerful economies, because ultimately, economic output drives the two fundamentals, which are alloy production and research. A trade league certainly builds the foundations upon which you can focus on alloy production and research. And the members may not share ethics, faith, or even political goals, but they are bound by a mutual dependence. Money, after all, is perhaps the most universal language in the galaxy. And finally, what I think is the best federation in the galaxy, the Research Cooperative. The Research Cooperative is the scientific counterpart to the galaxy's more political or militaristic federations. Please picture for me, if you will, a mutual appreciation for science and a drive to seek out new knowledge. I see this as representing a vision of the galaxy where progress itself is the unifying principle. Empires working together to better understand how the galaxy works, but also to use these improvements to change the lives of their citizens for the better. To form one, an empire must either embrace materialistic ethics, complete the discovery tradition tree, or be a machine intelligence. At its foundation, the Research Cooperative automatically establishes free research agreements between its members. This ensures that discoveries made by one empire benefit the rest, symbolizing this open book scientific initiative. Members also gain increased research speed and rare technology discovery chance. In fact, during an endgame crisis level event, all members will see a 40% increase in research output, which is a ludicrously powerful bonus. The President will unlock even more benefits. They gain additional research alternatives, allowing broader and faster access to critical technologies, but they also will eventually unlock the ability to construct additional megastructures. Where a standard empire can only build one Science Nexus, Sentry Array, and Dyson Sphere, the President of a Research Cooperative will be able to build two. Now, megastructures are not the bastions of power that they once were, but they are still mighty. 2 Sentry Arrays provides 100 intel on all empires across the galaxy, which is insanely powerful. 2 Science Nexuses mean another 30% added onto your research speed, and 2 Strategic Coordination Centers means even faster sublight speed for your fleets. This is, in my opinion, the single greatest bonus of any of the federations. The Research Co-op, however, has its weakness. It takes time for the increases in tech output to begin to snowball, and you won't get an overtly beefy Federation fleet to keep you safe. But for empires who are already focused on learning as much as they can about our galaxy, and using the technology to make the world a better place, the Research Co-op will certainly supercharge their growth. Perhaps this is proof that sometimes the pen, or in this case the datapad, really is mightier than the sword. But my lords, do you agree? I'll certainly admit that when choosing between trade or research, it does somewhat depend on your individual focus as an empire. Using either to supercharge your technology or your economy is a surefire way to victory. But maybe you think Holy Covenant should be at the top, or Martial Alliance. Feel free to tell me why. Nevertheless, I have one topic left to touch on: succession. The succession type law determines how the next Federation president is chosen once their term is up. Several options for this exist. By default, most federations are a simple rotation. This is clearly an egalitarian way of allowing each member of the Federation a chance to provide for a minimum of 10 years, although this can be adjusted. But 3 other succession methods exist: strongest, random, and challenge. Now random is just that, a president is selected by random. Strongest has more nuance. Every time a new president is due to be selected, it won't be a standard rotation. The Federation will choose a category: economy, diplomatic weight, technology, or fleets. The members are then ranked, and the strongest of the chosen category will then go on to become president. This incidentally is a fantastic way to ensure you remain in power forever, even in a normally non-hierarchical government type. Challenge succession is far more exciting. Here, we have leaders fighting to the death or writing a thesis about why they should be president. 5 challenge options exist. They are: arena combat. The rulers of all Federation members fight in an arena battle, and the winner will become president when all the losers are killed. Each ruler has a chance to win based on a variety of factors, and if ever we have an example of psionic superiority, well, this is it. Speaking of psionics, the second method is a psionic battle. The psionic people of all Federation members will fight in the arena. Before the fight, each empire can spend some zro in order to increase their powers. The third method is golden rule. Each member is offered the chance to pay and place a bid or drop out. If multiple members place a bid, then the offer is given again to those members. Bidding will continue until all but one empire have dropped out. This remaining empire, the one who bid the highest, will then become the new president and will also gain the option to invest the bids placed by all members, distribute them, or appropriate them. The fourth method is thesis defense. Each member will assemble a team consisting of up to 5 recruited scientists. The head of research will always join. Each team has a chance to win based on the traits of each team member. Similar to the arena combat, different traits provide different bonuses or debuffs, which will affect the leader's likelihood of doing a good job. And finally, spiritual conclave, which is some sort of clandestine vote influenced by leaders within the conclave. Essentially, each independent member has 2 chances to influence the ranking by increasing the bribe value. This requires an amount of unity per owned planet. The second time, there is also an option to pay energy equal to the amount of the population in the empire. The highest ranked empire becomes the new leader from these bribes, and there you have it. That rounds up successions, and it remains amusing to me how much power the psionics carry. Clearly, we live in the shadows of the Shroud.